Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something pretty essential for everyday interactions, whether you're at work, maybe in a classroom, or just chatting with friends. It's about how to disagree politely in English.
Right. It's that tricky balance, isn't it? You need to get your point across, but you also really want to keep things positive, maintain that good relationship.
Exactly. And we know listeners want practical advice, not just theory. So our mission today is to equip you with some, actionable phrases and concepts for those moments when you just see things differently.
Precisely. We've gathered info that really focuses on concrete tools. Think specific phrases, ways to frame your disagreement so you can navigate those situations effectively and, well, respectfully.
Okay, let's dive right in. One of the key phrases that often comes up is, "I see your point, bud." What's the magic behind that one?
Well, the "I see your point" part is crucial. It immediately tells the other person, hey, I heard you. I understood what you said. It's validating.
Right, it acknowledges them.
Exactly. And then the "but," it acts as a kind of gentle pivot. It signals, okay, now I'm going to introduce a different thought without just, shutting them down right away.
A gentle pivot, I like that. It's like saying, got it, and here's maybe another perspective. We also see, that's an interesting perspective. However, pretty similar idea, yeah?
Yes, very similar principle. Starting with "that's an interesting perspective," again, shows you value their input. It suggests openness. The "however" then just smoothly brings in your contrasting view. It can feel maybe a touch more formal than "but."
Okay, so perhaps better for like a work meeting or something more structured.
Could be, yeah, depending on the context.
And there's, "I respectfully disagree," because this one feels a bit more direct, but that word respectfully is doing some heavy lifting.
Oh, absolutely. By explicitly saying respectfully, you're making it super clear that the disagreement isn't personal. It's about the idea, the topic, not the person. And the "because" is vital.
Why the because?
Because it tells them you're not just disagreeing flat out. You're going to explain why. You're providing a reason, which is, fundamental for a productive discussion, not just an argument.
That makes sense. It shifts it from just opinions clashing to actually exploring reasons. Okay, next up. While I understand your view, I'd like to add, this one feels maybe less like a direct disagreement.
That's a great way to put it. While I understand your view shows empathy, again, that active listening, and I'd like to add, frames your point as a contribution, like you're building on the conversation, not tearing down their point. It definitely fosters more of a team feel.
More collaborative, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last key phrase here is, another way to look at this might be, this feels really open, doesn't it?
It does. It positions your idea as just one possibility among maybe several. It's less about "you're wrong, I'm right," and more about "here's another lens." It's great for introducing a totally different angle without making anyone feel defensive. Very non-confrontational.
We actually have a good example dialogue here. Speaker A says, "I think remote work is less productive." And Speaker B replies, "I totally get where you're coming from, but recent data actually suggests the opposite in many industries." Now, B didn't use the exact phrases, but you can see the mechanics, right?
Totally. I totally get where you're coming from. That's the acknowledgement, like, I see your point. Then the "but" is the pivot, and crucially, they follow up with, recent data suggests. They're offering evidence for their different view. It's a textbook polite disagreement, really.
Okay, so those are some great foundational phrases. But the source material also talks about using high-level collocations and vocabulary. What does that mean in this context?
It basically means using specific word combinations, collocations that sound natural and sophisticated in English. Using them can make your disagreement sound more fluent, more confident, without necessarily sounding more aggressive. It's about elevating your language a bit.
Like choosing more precise tools. Okay, the first collocation example is voice an objection. How would that sound in practice?
You might say something like, While I agree with the overall goal, I need to voice an objection to this specific budget allocation. It's formal, clear, and signals a specific point of concern.
Okay. Next. Challenge an assumption. Sounds like questioning the groundwork of an argument.
Exactly. You could say, before we proceed, perhaps we should challenge the assumption that our target audience uses that platform. It prompts a reevaluation of the basis of the idea, but respectfully.
Makes sense. Then, provide a counter-argument. Seems pretty clear.
It is, but phrasing it that way in your mind helps structure your response. Instead of just disagreeing, you're thinking about presenting a reasoned alternative. Like, okay, to provide a counter-argument, let's consider the results from last year's campaign.
Got it. Number 4 is offer a different take. That sounds quite similar to another way to look at this.
Very much so. It's a nice, slightly more formal way to introduce an alternative viewpoint. I understand the proposal, but I'd like to offer a different take on the potential risks involved. It's constructive.
And the last one, defend a position. This sounds like it happens after you've stated your disagreement.
Usually, yes. If someone questions your counter-argument or your different take, you might need to defend your position with more detail or evidence. I can defend this position by sharing the specific survey data we collected. Using these collocations, it just adds a layer of articulacy.
Right. It shows a good command of the language. So we have things to say, but equally important is what not to say. The source really flags one phrase, "You're wrong." Why is that such a big no-no?
Oh, it's huge. Saying you're wrong is incredibly direct, very confrontational. It slams the door in the conversation. It makes the other person immediately defensive. And honestly, it can feel like a personal attack, even if you don't mean it that way.
Yeah, it just stops everything. It becomes about winning or losing, right? Whereas all the other phrases we discussed, like, I see your point, but, or another way to look at this, here, they keep the door open.
Exactly. They allow for disagreement while maintaining respect and focusing on the ideas rather than making it personal. It's about collaboration, even within disagreement.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. We've talked about why polite disagreement is key. We covered specific phrases like, I see your point, but... And another way to look at this might be to introduce differing views gently.
And we looked at those higher-level collocations, voice an objection, challenge an assumption to sound more fluent and confident.
And crucially, we highlighted the big mistake to avoid. Just bluntly saying, you're wrong.
Right. It's amazing how small changes in phrasing can make such a difference in how things land. It really underscores that communication is as much about how you say something as what you say.
That leads to a good thought for our listeners to mull over. Think about a recent time you disagreed with someone. Looking back, could you have used one of these phrases or techniques? How might it have changed the interaction, maybe made it smoother or more productive?
That's a great exercise. Reflecting on how adjusting your language in disagreements could lead to better outcomes at work, in studies, even just chatting with family or friends. It's a practical skill worth honing.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into polite disagreement. We hope these tools are genuinely useful for you. We'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences using them. Feel free to reach out on social media or our feedback channels.
Yes, please do. We're always interested to hear how these ideas play out in the real world.
Until next time, thanks for listening.
Goodbye.